With greetings, welcome back to my channel. This is Siobhán the Celtic Empath. I am an R.A.A.H Hypnosis therapist, R.A.A.H Reiki qualified, and also the reason why I'm going to want to make this particular video today is to talk to you a little bit, as the heading of this video is about, is the spiritual meaning of ringing in the ears. And so this talk is coming out of experience. Once again, a lot of my videos will be more talking to my own experience of what I've personally experienced and what I'm experiencing through other people. But something that I probably don't talk a lot about, that I do want to talk some more about, is talking to my experience as an oracle reader, an oracle card reader. And this is also something else that I have been doing and offering over the past year, maybe a year and a half at this stage. But it's a development of my earlier days and work is from being a tarot card reader. And so the development of learning about my own psychic abilities as a very important part of learning how to read tarot cards and tuning into the energy and the symbolism within the tarot cards themselves, because at the end of the day it's about energy and a lot of the symbolism within the cards. It's not sometimes always, you know, just the card itself, but it's what you can feel into what is within the card, the story. So this is something that I do, oracle readings and various different information and channelings, dare I say, of channeled information and answers can come through when I do the oracle readings. And I use a number of different decks. My favorite deck is actually my dragon deck, and God, I wish I'd brought it down now that I could show it to you, but I don't have it here in this room. But as a direct result from doing my oracle readings, and also from listening to the spiritual community online, and even not the spiritual communities online, even not just people who are in like alternative or holistic groups, and they may not be, you may not be, or you listening should I say, may not even be particularly spiritual or believe a lot in maybe spiritual ideas and maybe the whole psychic sense of things, and even the word channeling these days can be a bit loaded. There's a lot of like extreme opinions or beliefs as to, you know, what could be happening if someone is channeling information. But just to keep it clear, there's many reasons why we could be hearing ringing in our ears. And over the years, this past 2 to 3 years recently, this has kind of, this phenomenon or the sound has really increased for people. A lot more people are experiencing this. And it's becoming something that I'm hearing, as I say, people who are non-spiritual are talking about, like experiencing this high-pitched ringing sounds and tones and hearing different sounds and frequencies. So that's what I'm going to refer to as a frequency, but it may sound like a high-pitched tone, a high-pitched ringing sound. Some people hear kind of maybe like chiming or bells. And there's many other things that you can hear as well. Different types of sounds depending on how developed your clairaudient is. But this is a clairaudient skill, one of the 5 clair skills. And the clairaudience one is being developed when you are hearing tones and frequencies. So just to make a point of that this is one important thing. I am going to talk to this from the spiritual point of view, from the psychic point of view, and not from a physical health point of view. Now, if you are experiencing different frequencies and tones in the ear, of course, it's important to go and have it checked out medically, just to see, you know, if you are actually do have something physically wrong with you, or that can be medically treated or looked after. But I am hearing, this is interesting, because I am hearing a lot of conversations where people are experiencing this idea of sounds, hearing things in the ear, and it can be between the right ear, it can be the left ear, it can be both ears simultaneously. and it's becoming more and more common. And from a spiritual point of view, so from a physical point of view, it could be a medical condition. People are going and getting diagnosed, much more so now, with having tendinitis. And I think there is another condition as well, but I am not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing anybody here. Do go and get yourself checked out. A lot of people go and they are getting diagnosed with having tendinitis, and it's quite possible from a spiritual point of view that you may not really have tendinitis, that you are experiencing these clairaudient frequencies of hearing different vibrations and different sound energies. So with saying all of that, let's just say you've been to the doctor, you've been told, okay, you've got tendinitis, you've been treating yourself for it, you've been trying to do maybe a couple of different things, what you've been recommended to do, you've Googled it online, and it hasn't changed. Nothing has made any difference, and you still got all of this ringing in the tone, ringing in the ears going on, and it varies and it comes and it goes. And so that's what it's going to be like, because tendinitis is something that it's slightly different, and from what I understand of it, it can be more persistent or consistent, and you can have like dizziness and other things with it. But with this other spiritual high-pitched sounds, you're generally not going to have other feelings of unwellness around it. And so to clarify it, you can receive a number of different sounds, and that can be singular sounds on the right or the left ear, and it can be shooting through sounds, so it can come in. My own personal experience, it can come in the right ear and literally like shoot through into the left, and I often get some backwards, shooting forwards and backwards, and then that's it, it dies down. And for me it's a high-pitched tone. So what does this mean spiritually? If we've checked out all of the other things, and so we're getting to the point where we're actually going, oh, hang on a minute, there's actually a whole other reason for this, that is, you know, explained perhaps in the terms of your clairaudient and psychic skills. So what's happening is we're receiving downloads of information, basically. You can be receiving all sorts of information, receiving wonderful honey-coated coding from the universe, ascension codes, upgrades. You can be receiving a lot of intuitive information with these frequencies about yourself, about your life, insights. It's going to vary for all of us on the kind of ascension path, to use all of these words, that you're on at the moment. It's all part of us developing ourselves, developing our third eye, and developing all of the psychic senses around the third eye and what happens with it. So on the right side of the body, the right side is connected to the positive side. It's connected to the male side. It's connected to the sun. So generally, if we're receiving the frequency into the right ear, this is perceived as a positive sound, and the sound often has a different elevated pitch to if you hear a singular sound coming in just in the left ear. So the one in the left ear can be denser, it can sound denser, it can often be shorter, it may not go on for as long, and it's not quite as it's just not as high pitched. So this is a denser, more earthly type of sound. So the right ear is usually positive. It is positive. You're getting downloads of positive information, intuitions, channelings, maybe confirmations on things that you are thinking about or that you are going about doing at that particular time. And the left ear is going to be a denser message. So it could be a warning. A lot of people actually have interpreted, people who are when you start to hear these sounds and you start to tune into the regularity of it and tuning into what could it possibly mean, what is that, even just posing that question in your mind when you hear the sound and you recognize, actually, you know, this is out of the ordinary. That question alone of, oh, what is that? I acknowledge that, I notice that happening. on the left side. So you can be receiving a warning message. It could be something that you were thinking that was maybe slightly more on the negative side. It could be even as you're going about your day, maybe that you were considering going to do something or making a plan about something, or having negative thoughts about another person, and then you hear this frequency. So that is something to pay attention to, because it still is informing you about some important information, and whether it's not necessarily a premonition that something bad is going to happen, but it is saying pay attention to the negative. In other instances, it can be in relation to what is called negative attack. So there could be a dense spirit around, there could be some negative energy, there could be somebody sending you negativity, negative thoughts or attacks as well. So just paying attention, and this is equally goes for what's coming in on the right ear and in the left ear. So paying attention to our thoughts, paying attention to what it is that we were thinking about, because that is crucial when this tone comes in, because you are getting the mind ready, the intelligence. You're bringing yourself into alignment, into this place where the universe is saying, right, we're ready to drop down this information, this coding, or a confirmation, an affirmation on something, or something that maybe you've asked for a download on, for information on, or it could be to do with bigger things like certain star alignments, portal alignments and star alignments in the sky, equinoxes, different celebrations like that. And so there's many different reasons why we receive these positive downloads into the right ear, positive information, and even just confirmation on things that we're doing in our life. So paying particular close attention when you do hear the sound coming in on the right ear, catching your thoughts right there and then. Like, if you are in a position where you can stop and think, gather your energy right there and pay attention to, oh, what was I thinking? What was that thought I had just before that frequency came in? What were you thinking? Maybe what were you planning on doing? What were you even physically going about? Or what were you even feeling? So was there a strong thought you had? Was there a strong emotion that you were having? So paying attention to that and then going into it and absorb it in, because then that brings in the awareness. That starts to bring in more and more awareness around what's actually happening. And the same with the left ear. Again, paying attention to it. What are you experiencing even in your atmosphere? What was the topic of conversation that maybe you were just having with somebody, and then the next thing this comes in? But sometimes we can be talking about negative things or energy that would be deemed or perceived as negative, and it can be a negative conversation, maybe about something that happened, even something you might have read in the newspaper, for example. It doesn't have to always be a personal thing. But even that energy that we perceive from perhaps reading a negative newspaper headline, it still carries energy and a frequency. And so if we're talking about it, how is it? Well, how are we connecting to that information? How are we experiencing that negative information? Or if we're researching things, a lot of people who might be drawn to perhaps the type of work that I do or my videos are probably also, you're probably an avid researcher to a certain extent in relation to alternative ideas, thoughts, ways of thinking, and whatnot, so that we're kind of outside of the norm, what is considered the norm, and looking at kind of different ideas and ideologies. And maybe looking through, history and wanting to know more about what is actually going on around us, other than just the headline in the newspaper that we see. So that's the main things I really wanted to actually talk about, was this spiritual ringing in the ear. You're not going mad, and you know what, actually, but I say that, but because the people do actually think they're, something's wrong with them, or that maybe they are going mad. And I know that it can become quite severe for some people and they still get no results or no answers or treatment for it. There is another extreme answer to this experience as well, that's connected into other frequencies that are being created throughout the universe, but it's a subject that I couldn't broach here on this particular platform. So I'm going to have to leave it at that, because at the end of the day it's all good, because it's all part of our learning process. It's all part of connecting back into ourselves, listening to ourselves and trusting ourselves, and never giving up in finding the answers. And what I would say to you is, if you're experiencing a lot of these different sounds and frequencies, you know, is it somebody that's passed over? Is it a close loved one that's maybe contacting you and that's maybe around you? You know, check your energy field, because there's a number of these types of energies that are getting us to up level, getting us to become more aware of our energy bodies, and big part of that is opening up the psychic senses and learning how to trust them and learning how to use them, because there is a difference between that gut feeling and the third eye, how we use our third eye. So it is with that, I decided to keep this a little bit shorter and sweet. Thank you for listening. Hope that this gave you some kind of information around this particular topic, because it's coming up a lot. And of course, unless you're looking for spiritual answers, then you may not actually find this answer, because spiritual and energy is where it's all at. Everything is energy. That's all. So love you and leave you, folks. Thank you for listening.